Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for pressing play and joining us today. My name is Kristin Skelton. I'm the founder of Bud Funding, and here we're all about helping you live your best sustainable life. I have a really exciting guest and video today, but before we dive right in, I just want to remind everyone that the Sustainable Human Workshop is now up uh, on my website, and the link to access that is in the description of this video. So that workshop is for any level of sustainability, and it's a great starting point. You'll learn a little bit about solar, traditional knowledge, passive solar, soil health, the wonderful world of bees. So you'll learn about all that good stuff, and you can complete it on your own time. So definitely click the link and do that to get started. And so today I am excited because I have one of my friends joining me. His name is Juan Pfeiffer, and we completed our master's together in 2017, and it was a Master's of Science in Sustainable Energy Development. And Juan has gone on to do amazing things. So a little bit of background about Juan is he is an experienced energy professional with more than 10 years in public and private sectors with a diverse global work portfolio in countries such as Colombia, India, Venezuela, and Canada. He is a renewable energy passionate, personally committed to Sustainable Development Goal number 7 to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. And strongly believes that energy transition will only be achieved if it integrates a bottom up approach that focuses on the development and massification of individuals, households, communities, and businesses. Juan understands that this will only be achieved with support of green financing mechanisms. Hence, his focus on his current startup, SEOS Energy, a Colombian-based solar fintech bridging financial barriers and unlocking the residential energy potential in Colombia and Latin America. SEOS Energy recently received an important award and as a finalist of the entire Americas region of the Global Competition Climate Launchpad, and Juan's going to tell us a little bit more about that. Juan is joining us from Colombia. Juan, how are you? And thank you so much for joining.
Hi everyone. Hi, Kristin. It's nice talking to you again. It's been quite a while since our last time, but yes, happy for the invitation. Thank you so much. I'm really happy also to be part of the bot funding community and helping as much as each one of us can. So very
Yes.
happy, excited to talk to you about sales, myself, and what has been going for the last couple of years.
So before we dive right in, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the recent competition you were part of, you were a finalist in, what that competition entailed, and what it means for your company.
Sure. Yeah. So it's called the Climate Launchpad. It's a global competition. It's it's done by the European Union. There's an arm with related to sustainability and innovation. It's called the Climate Kick, and it's basically by the European Union, but it's a global competition. I think it's 55 countries around the world have an office of someone that organizes the yeah, and it starts with at the local level, then at the regional level, and then the global level, right? So it was 55 countries. I think in total it was more than 3,000 green entrepreneurs, green businesses ideas. So it can be startups, scale ups, a little bit. It's basically focused on green businesses idea and or startups. And in Colombia, there were more than 90 green businesses that applied. Out of those 90, 20, were selected after a small, acceleration program. There was a local competition between the 20 of us, and the three were, transferred to the regional finals in Colombia. SEOS, we were lucky to win the first place in the Colombian competition. Then at the regional level, which is the Americas, it was Brazil, Mexico, Peru, Argentina, I think Jamaica, and there's in Colombia. Yeah, so those 6 countries. More than I think it was 18 startups competing. Again, in that competition, luckily we were able to win the first prize, which for us was really a very very big achievement. I think overall, there's in terms of entrepreneurship hubs and ecosystems. in Latam. Brazil and Mexico are by far, have way more, years of advance in entrepreneurship and different ideas. So for us to be able to compete and win against some very good startups in Brazil and in Mexico was very like a very important achievement.
Mhm.
That gave us the ticket to compete in the global grand finals, which was held last week. It was, I think, 70 startups from those 55 countries competing for the top 16 and then the top three. Unluckily, we didn't make it into the top 16, but we still received a lot of congratulations and a lot of good feedback about the potential of our solution in Latin America, which is a little bit of, as you said, it's not only clean tech, but it's fintech, as I said before. I think right now there's a huge amount of new technologies around the world, of course, being developed also in developed countries like Europe, North America. But in developing countries, I think it's first a matter of really deploying at scale massively those commercial technologies that are already quite used in North America, Europe, or Australia. So, and that is with the focus of SEOs, because to be able to have massive deployment and scale of these commercial technologies such as solar systems, there has to be green financing mechanisms, which right now there's really very few in Latin America, and that's the focus of startup of sales, and that's been my focus for the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, big congratulations on all your accomplishments with that competition, because I know it was like stiff competition and you guys made it
Yeah.
very far. So that's an amazing achievement. Congratulations with that. So I want to know, have you always been interested in solar? How did you first get interested in this area?
Oof, I think my interest in solar dates back, I would say probably 12 or 13 years ago. I still when I was actually finishing still my engineering undergrad. I saw, attended a couple of courses regarding renewable energy, mostly wind and a little bit of solar, right?
Mhm.
Which at that time it was wind and solar were just starting to step up in North America and in Europe. It was still quite, expensive. The capex was quite high at that time still. But that kind of triggered me like, wow, this is something that can really change the world. And then I started thinking about, I mean, the tropical countries, Colombia, all Latin America, most of us are in the tropic. We have no seasons. We have a great solar resource or great wind resource. Well, how come haven't we done this in this region? Of course, the first question, I mean, the first answer was uh, financing, right? Money, the capex was still high. So that was one of of course, that kind of started to, maybe that's the path. That's where you should start looking at in terms of being able to deploy at scale. In Colombia at that time, the power generation or electricity in Colombia, we have, I guess it's a good and a bad thing. We have a very clean energy matrix because it's 70% hydro, right? Which is technically clean. I mean, I'm not gonna get involved into the LCA of those, but at least it's hydro. It's not burning fossil fuel. But then we also have the other side, which is uh, the El Nino phenomenon, which is the drought, very hard droughts that
Mhm.
in every couple of years, and it's getting before it was every 10 years, now it's every 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
There's very extreme droughts, and then we have to ramp up the generation from fossil fuel, gas or coal, right? So that's kind of the good and bad of of the power generation in Colombia. And I said, well, I mean, there should be something that we can be able to start implementing more solar, more renewable resources. Um, Unluckily, there was no industry, so I started working in the dark side, as an oil and gas company, a service provider. I worked there 5 years, but I was always, having, doing courses and having a close look at what renewable energies were able to do in Colombia. And in 2015, sorry, there was finally a decree, a law that the government signed to support the development of renewable resources, and
Mhm.
that kind of was what triggered me. That's what I'm gonna focus right now. I basically quitted my job, which I was a very comfortable position, but I quit it. I decided to go to Calgary to do the masters. That's where we met. And since then, of course, it's been almost 150% of my time focused on renewable and on solar. So
Mhm.
basically, that's my story about how interested I am in solar. As an engineer, of course, I'm always interested in the technical side of things and how we can improve things. But of course, I understand now, and thanks to the program, that it's not only the technical side, but it's only understanding how the development and the financing type of mechanism can help these technologies to be deployed in Latin America.
And how would you say the solar industry differs now that you've lived in both Canada and Colombia? How would you say that the solar industry differs between those two countries?
Uh, I first I think it's important because I would say that even within Canada, the industries are quite in different stages. If you compare Ontario or Quebec or versus Alberta or the prairies, definitely Ontario was ahead. When the some public policy was put in place at the end of 2008, I think. So Ontario, I would say, is definitely by far. I mean, more than 15 years ahead of Colombia. I think Alberta, was a little bit ahead of behind Ontario. I think the solar industry, at least in Alberta, was not until I would say, maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, mostly at the utility scale, not at the micro generation level. But I haven't followed up since 2018 when I was 2019 when I was last time there. I think microgeneration is still kind of booming in Alberta. Definitely, what has you know got a traction is utility scale. So I would say that at this stage, Alberta has a very good, well developed solar industry. In Colombia, we are even far behind Alberta. So until 2 years ago, we didn't have any utility scale solar farms. So that was only right now we have probably I don't know five or six utility scale solar farms, and in terms of micro generation, we don't have any more than I would say 30 to 50 megawatts in terms of small scale solar rooftop at the commercial or residential level. Mainly because in Colombia it was technically the regulations were not in place until 2018. Basically it was technically illegal to have solar systems on your roof, right?
Oh,
Because so you understand that there's public policy and regulations that have to be put in place, and that was not done in Colombia until 2018. So that's kind of how far ahead is Canada, or how far behind we are in Colombia. But that doesn't mean that we cannot learn from all the big mistakes or mistakes and good opportunities that in Germany, Europe, Canada, US. So that on the good side is that we don't have to learn the hard way. We already know what works, what doesn't work, and that's how we hope that solar industry in Colombia is gonna ramp up quite quickly.
and so where did you get the idea for your company, SEOS Energy?
Basically, the idea is I want solar panels on my roof. It's certainly an upfront capital investment that a lot of people do not have. uh, my parents started, the first solar system that sales, kind of installed was more than, I think, 3 years ago. And it was, luckily, we had the funds to do it, but we recognize that it's certainly like a barrier, right? And looking back to, how the development of residential solar in the US and in Canada and in Europe, there was always behind, like the financing from either from the provider or from a bank or from a financial institution that was able to provide that upfront capital to pay for the solar system. And I started looking at say, okay, what are the banks doing in Colombia? Basically there was nothing. Nothing is there. There's it's quite unless you have the cash in your bank account, there's very difficult few chances that you are able to gonna get a solar system on your house on your roof. So that's what triggered me, with my sister. She's also a lawyer in terms of uh, she, she focuses on mining and energy law. We decided to give a try with the idea of the experience that I had also, I guess, in Canada, also closely looking at the States, and I said the opportunity in Colombia and in Latin America is in the solar financing, right? I mean, unless there's not financing, there's not gonna be any big scale, massive deployment of residential or even small medium businesses solar. So that's what that is really what kind of uh, gave me the idea of let's try this and see if it works.
Yeah. Okay. So the main thing that your company is trying to solve is that financial barrier.
Yes. So basically, we are trying we providing solar loans or a different. We have basically three different products, but at the end of the day, is financing and bridging that up from capital barrier, so that users can go solar. Either if it's a residential, if it's a multifamily building, for the common areas, or if it's a small or medium business, which is 80% of the time in Colombia, the small and medium businesses are located similar to like it's in a house, right? So that is the focus of how we are. Of course, it's a work in progress, right? We have to, of course, to find big funds to support that. But we have developed all the products and the financing mechanisms and the the risk mitigation and all those strategies, so that people can go solar with zero down up to 100% financing. That is basically what we're trying to do, and we so far we have very good traction and a lot of people interested in signing with us.
That's awesome. So now let's get into a little bit more of your entrepreneurial journey. So how have you had to be creative throughout the development of this company?
Well, when I was still in Alberta, with the government working, leading one of the public funds for supporting renewables. I was starting to look at the market in Colombia, who was doing what, and I started to see that there is a lot of new companies, similar to what actually happened in Alberta a couple of years ago. A lot of new companies focus on installing solar installers, and I said, like, I mean, there's that business of in solar installation is gonna be quite competitive. It's gonna be a lot of people.
Mhm.
So if you want to do a business, that's probably not the best way to do it. So we have to think, okay, how can we not get in competition with them, but support them, and also, find a business that makes it's profitable for us. And that's starting to see, okay, what are the barriers, and in talking to potential users. How has been your solar journey? Why, if you went solar, how did it go? If you haven't gone solar, why haven't you gone solar? So I started to doing a lot of customer discovery and validation of what are that what is that customer journey, what are the pains and the problems that we will actually have to solve. And that's basically how we came up with this. It's really a matter of providing that trust to the customer, and that trust also comes from the fact that they are not putting the cash upfront for a system that they still don't know if it's going to work or not, because really that's still something, one of the biggest, I guess, misbelief in Colombia, is that solar is too expensive and it's not going to work and it's not going to save you money on your power bill, right? And that's also one of the main reasons why people is afraid of putting cash up front. So all that came up of, okay, we have to provide the financing, we have to provide certainty, we have to be trustworthy, some guarantees, some warranties that we're going to be there all the way for the lifetime of the system. And that's and this in each one of those steps is where we found we have to do this and this to make the solar journey very very friendly and accessible for the users.
And on your note of that, you said there's a lot of solar installers. I think at each one of the Bud Funding Expos, I've always had a different solar company like reach out to me and be like, oh, we want to be part of the next Bud Funding Expo. So I'm always like, yeah, exactly what you said. I'm always working with a new company as part of the expo. So there's always a new one up and coming. So I definitely see that there was a lot of competition. Obviously, I haven't had an expo since COVID, but when we were having them, yes, I was always working with a new company. So I want to know, is this the first time you've gone on the entrepreneurial journey, or have you had other ventures in the past? Were you entrepreneurial as a kid?
Yeah, so actually, I wasn't really one of the co-founders, but I was invited as part of it is called Optima Global. It's a Canadian, a Calgary-based sustainability consultancy firm. I wasn't there from the beginning, but I was invited based on my past career. And yes, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's a different type of entrepreneurial journey, right? It's not as much as a consultancy firm. It's not really a startup, but of course you have to learn a lot of how to create a business, run a business, and all of those things. So that was really one of the first experiences I had with that. I think I also had in my the back of my mind. My father once tried to do it like agricultural business, and he failed. So I think I also have, even though I was a kid, I kind of remember what were the most painful points that he went through when he was trying to build his agricultural business. So maybe that's something that in the back of my mind, sometimes it talks to me and say maybe reminds me of something. And yeah, in terms of business, yes, I would say that personally, I'm kind of a more entrepreneurial. I'm kind of all for it. I go for it for a lot of things. I mean, when I first started working, I was first assigned to India, and I said yes, let's go. I didn't have any fears of going to new adventures. When I was my main hobby is go karting and racing. And back in 2008, I was also on my own. I found sponsors. I talked to different racing teams, and I signed a contract to race with them in
Yes.
in an open wheel racing. Of course, with the support of my family and some sponsors of friends of my father.
So
But
what
it
type
was all
of
without an agent, all by myself. So I
is that
think that
kind of like NASCAR or what?
it's more formula like IndyCar open wheel, but yes, racing, that type of racing.
Yes, because I
And I
remember that.
ended up finishing eighth out of, I think it was more than 40 drivers. I was the really the first, the rookie. So for me, it was also like accomplishment because I was without a lot of budget and without even agents. Right now, you see all the drivers have agents. I was all by myself. So I think the adventure and the entrepreneurial of trying new things is kind of well inside of me.
Yes, it's part of you.
Yeah.
So if people want to find out more about SEOS Energy, how can they do that? How could they connect with you?
Sure, I guess we have the social media. So in Instagram it's at SEOS Energy. Maybe I can write it in the
I'll put it in the description, and it's
yeah,
just if anyone's looking for that, it's spelled SEOS Energy.
yep, like energy in English. So we have Facebook page as well, SEOS Energy. We also are trying to post more often in LinkedIn as well. And of course you have I can also put my email there as well, my phone number as well. So anyone interested in learning, or if I can share some experiences as well, I'm all for it. I'm really one of the guys that you know knowledge sharing is really one of the things I love because you learn as well. So I guess on the description we can put all my contact information,
Yeah.
and from there anyone who is interested, we can certainly have a virtual coffee, a knee coffee or something, and chat more about my journey.
That's awesome. Juan, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited for you and the company to expand and blossom. And everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us today and pressing play. And don't forget to complete the Sustainable Human Workshop. And I will see everyone back here next Wednesday at 12 Mountain Time. Have a great week, everyone. I appreciate everyone in this community. Bye now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kristin. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, and it's lovely what you're doing.